You're watching Fox 17 News at 9.
Last week, I shared publicly my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis that I believe was triggered by dental work and silver mercury fillings. Tonight, I continue my story with a comprehensive look at efforts to ban silver fillings across the world.
In 2008, I got the news that scared my family to death.
I think you have early MS.
My children were just 2 and 3.
That is nice.
But 3 years later, I'm on an alternative and controversial road to recovery after identifying what I believe triggered this diagnosis: heavy metal toxicity from silver fillings, which are 50% mercury.
It was obvious that you had an elevated level of mercury in your body, and given the symptoms that you had and the timing of the exposure to mercury, it was also pretty clear to me that we needed to remove it.
During my research, I discovered Norway, Sweden, and Denmark have banned mercury-laden fillings as unsafe, but not the U.S.
I've seen so many people that have like you, that have had huge damage to their lives and had changes by reducing the mercury burden. And I just think it's a battle that can be won.
Attorney Charlie Brown with Consumers for Dental Choice in Washington, D.C. finally has a victory in his 10-year fight to rid the world of silver fillings. This year, the U.S. State Department proclaimed we should phase down the use of mercury amalgam fillings during international treaty talks at the United Nations. But the Mercury Treaty, as it's called, which would affect every dentist in the world, is not a done deal yet.
When do you think we may see that day when there are no more silver fillings being placed in anybody, not just pregnant women and children, but anybody?
Well, we're trying to do this worldwide. I mean, there's a good shot this treaty can make that transition and do some form of graduated phase out. It will either happen with this treaty or it won't happen in this or the next generation.
You're going to breathe in the oxygen for me.
The dentist who removed my silver fillings, which resulted in a 50% reduction of my MS symptoms within that first week, is trained by the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology on the proper and healthy removal of silver fillings.
We've been fighting this war for a long time, and so it makes me feel very good.
There have been some strides. The Food and Drug Administration, for the first time in 2008, issued a warning saying silver fillings contain mercury, which may have neurotoxic effects on the central nervous systems of developing children and fetuses. Pennsylvania, Maine, New Hampshire, Arizona, Ohio, California, and Washington have state legislation requiring dentists to warn patients about the harmful effects of mercury fillings. Tennessee does not.
It's the system that we live in. It just takes time. It's like, Thomas Edison, light bulb. It took a little minute, but what, now we have, and let there be light.
Which is why I'm shining light on what has happened to me.
What about the bigger jerking movements?
I don't have those.
Okay.
I don't have those anymore. Where my shoulder would just move.
Yes.
Without me telling it to move, or my leg would just, jump out. I don't have that anymore.
But it's taken a few years to get there.
You tolerate the DMPS pretty good?
Through a long process of removing stored heavy metals from my body through intravenous chelation.
Well, you have done well.
My neurologist does not believe there's a link between heavy metal toxicity and these white lesions on my brain, a sign of MS. But he does recognize my improving health.
So do you think I'm in remission?
In a clinical sense, you are in remission, but we feel like the MS is still there. It could potentially cause more problems in the future.
I have chosen to take the dual track with a mainstream, nationally respected neurologist on my side, while continually ridding my body of what I believe triggered my symptoms in the first place.
Now, I have heard from so many of you since I went public with this last week. Thank you for reaching out to me on Facebook and through email. If my story helps just one person, then it has all been worth it. Now, don't forget, you can visit my website for some great resources that took me months to discover by going to fox17.com, click Fox Links, and look for Stacy's story.